Black Men Speak. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Stewart.
And I'm Tommy Duncan. Welcome, everyone.
And today we have two lovely guests and a very special episode, possibly two, depending on the discussion. We're going to discuss what women say they want in a man, and then Tommy and I are going to try to offer some solutions on how best to get this from the guy that you're with. So, ladies, will we introduce yourselves real quick?
I'm Hope Angela Hart, and I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I've lived in several cities.
I am Charlotte Thompson, and I'm a financial professional, and I was raised here in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. So both of you Southern women, right?
More or less, yes.
Okay, but you've lived in the
I've lived in the North,
Midwest,
so I wouldn't necessarily call myself totally a Southern woman.
and you travel
I
quite.
travel quite a bit throughout my profession, so it's been a wonderful thing.
And so let's just jump in. Let's talk about some of the things that women say they want from a guy, and then let's talk about why men are not giving you these things, or not just you in particular, but you guys are going to represent all the women today, for the most part.
There you go.
And Tommy and I are going to speak for Black men today. So I know there are going to be some people out there who will say, you know, y'all can't speak for all, but we're going to do our best to speak for all. Mm-hmm. So ladies, just go ahead. Let's just jump in. What is it that you want?
And just to kind of preface this actually came from a top
survey.
A survey. Several surveys that went out. There was 7, 10, or however many things that women were looking for. And so we'd like to get your unique perspective on this and kind of see where it goes with that. So if there are a couple of top things, let's start talking about it.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen the list, and I actually would just like to read a few of my lists.
Go ahead.
And I don't know what's on her list, so let's see how much.
Let's see how they match up.
Yes. Honesty, loyalty, sense of humor, stability, which ties into good decision making, flexibility, lack of assumptions or historical assumptions of marriage, and good communication, and that ties into the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus, going into the cave aspect of men, which is non-communicative to me, and division of labor, being able to, making decisions about the division of labor in a household.
Okay.
And I think that's very important.
Now, how many things were on your list?
That was 8, actually. No, 8 or 9.
Okay.
Charlotte,
What is your list?
Mine is basically broken up to, I guess, two major parts. One, more or less, I would call it foundational. The other one, more or less, soft skills, whatever. Foundationally, I said spiritually grounded, financially stable, well-groomed, physically fit, educational, and family-oriented. Those are more or less foundational things that I look for in a mate. Okay, softer skills for what you kind of brought about: compassion, understandable, sense of humor. But my ultimate thing for me, for a guy, is they give me an experience.
Okay.
And
I'm going to have to ask you a question about that experience and what that
The adrenaline rush.
boom.
Yeah.
Okay, adrenaline rush. All right.
I ain't code word for maybe a semi-bad guy. Who knows? We'll get into it.
Okay.
All right, so out of those, what's the number one thing on your list? And if you had to look at all those things, what's the number one thing on each of your list, and why? Let's start with that.
Okay.
Well, mine is about flexibility.
So that's the number one thing, the most important thing.
Flexibility of assumptions about, and I'm talking about marriage or long-term relationship, assumptions about what marriage should be or what a woman should be, and that kind of ties in.
Is that more traditional roles, or we're talking
Well, see, I'm saying
thoughts?
that a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of men are still, and I'm surprised, stuck in a mindset of the traditional role of women, or thinking, looking back to that great upside down cake of pineapple cake that their grandmother cooked, and that they want their wife to cook that, and so they're looking for that same type of grandmother aspect to a woman in 2018, which I understand that you may have that nostalgia, but you have to look realistically on, what is realistic, and that she may not be able to bake at that time, but y'all may be able to learn how to bake together. But I'm surprised. I thought in 2018, men would be a little bit more modern, or black men, especially since black women have always worked, since slavery, obviously, that they would be a little bit more, less traditional. So when I say flexibility, I'm saying flexibility on what the division of labor will be, or assumptions about what the relationship will be.
So that is the number one most important
Yes.
thing on your list. Flexibility in terms of the roles in the
Yes.
household. Okay. What about you, Sean?
I agree with you. Flexibility is very important, especially, I think what you're trying to say, or in my world, I'm much more like you said, a modern woman. I'm like this. I do so many different things. So to be my guy and for you to expect me to come home and cook and clean, it's not gonna happen. Oh, my house, I'm very good and pretty cleanly. I mean, being clean in general is just the way I am. But if there's no food there, then we're going out. If you see food, I guess we're gonna eat in. I don't really, when it comes back to your saying being flexible, I feel the same way in that the dishes need to be washed, house needs to be clean. I don't care who does it. A housekeeper, me, you, the kids. Those are things where you're going back to being more modern. I think society has it now that black women have always been forced to be modern to a certain extent, because we do work as well as we're doing those other traditional roles.
But a lot of times we've added a role, or feminism or womanism, as Alice Walker calls it, for black women, because our needs are different than feminism.
Yes.
We've added a role as opposed to let go of a role. We just added working, or we always work, but they expect us to do it all. The black superwoman.
Yes.
And to me, that's one of the reasons why we're dying early of high blood pressure and strokes and all that kind of stuff, because it's just too much. So we need to be able to see how we're going to have this modern family.
Okay, but that's the modern woman wanted it all, and when you have it all, it relates to health issues like men have, who traditionally have these roles. But for me, I think part of what you guys are saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, that it really comes down to more traditional thought in leadership versus more of the what I call partnering. Not necessarily a modern woman. Partner's been around for a very long time. I don't buy into the concept of partnering in a relationship. I think there should be a defined leader. So in my household, I say I'm a benevolent dictator because I'm ultimately responsible for everyone in my household. If the house is not clean and I don't like that it's not clean, I clean. Ultimately, it's my responsibility. Anyone who helps me with that, I'll make sure that I let them know that I appreciate you contributing to the function of this household. But let's not misunderstand what this is. If this is not going to be our castle, I have to be the king, and the woman I'm with is the queen. But still, there is a king there who's ultimately responsible for everything in that kingdom. That kingdom is small, and but that's that. When I say traditional role, it's not I'm in charge. You have to do what I say, and I think that's what women are rebelling against. And I would rebel against that too, man or woman, because leadership should be about responsibility and not about being the boss of something.
So, if I'm reading this correctly, your number one is flexibility in terms of role, responsibility, traditional. And you're also saying that the number one thing on your list is the exact same thing of all your lists. If we look at the 8
It's not a rank a list though, but
I'm saying the number
You know
one.
what?
I'm saying the number one
Okay,
thing.
number one, flexibility.
If- if-
but Tom, okay, let's
No, I asked
let's not push back and let's not make anyone uncomfortable, because
Yes.
we want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And really, believe it or not, I mean, I think our guests are the ladies are being honest.
Right.
And that this is a very serious concern that they don't get a chance to voice very much. They don't like the way the dynamic is broken down within a relationship sometimes. So this is important that we have this talk that there's nothing wrong with being a leader in a relationship and being a responsible person, as long as you're doing those things. I think women want those things, but what they don't want is just for you to assume that with being the head of household comes them you being the boss too, and that they're relegated to all the crummy stuff that has to be done, dishes, washing, cooking, and you sit around like the lion and his and the lioness Well, they go out and do all of the dirty work. He just sits back and have the babies and defend all if anyone comes around. Otherwise, he just lays there all day.
I guess what my statement is, I'm surprised that those are the two.
Well, why though? Why would you?
I would say that
it's top. I think it's hard to say a top, to be honest with you, because as I was saying earlier, I have foundational things that I need to be, and those are top for me. I need you to be spiritually grounded. I need you to believe in God.
Well, there are other things.
And these are, so when, I'm not sure about top, but foundationally, I need a man to be, like I say, I need to be financially secure and stable. Now, what that means, depending on what part of our relationship we're starting at. We're just dating. Hey, you can take me out.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's no big deal as long as I know you can pay your light bill and take me to dinner, and I don't have to hear that you didn't pay your light. We're fine. So, as she says, I think it kind of goes in stages of what I want when I meet you, and we're talking just more or less foundational things. Yes, I'm educated, you're educated. We both have jobs. We both believe in God. We both understand that, you know, our family, have family and friends. Those are foundational things. Then you go with those soft things you're saying, you know, and what soft things are when you go back to, we have a long relationship, either we live together, we're going to get married, we're married. That's when we get back to, okay, who's going to be watching, who's on first, who's on second. Well,
I'm just thinking.
Just one quick thing. So, Tom, you said you're kind of a little surprised by what the ladies are saying. Let me ask you, what would you think would be most important to a woman? So I'm just comparing contrast.
Yeah,
okay, good. Because I'm thinking probably front end. And so with those things coming out first on the front end, I'm thinking probably a little bit more. You mentioned the honesty factor being very upfront. You mentioned experience being something that was very important for me. I mean, because first impact is usually very important. And so if we're talking about the first 6 months to a year or so, and we're really vetting out someone,
then that's experience.
And then I'm thinking, okay, flexibility. Usually we're not even looking for that up front. Now, if we're talking long-term marriage, yes. But if we're looking at the first year or so of a relationship, I was just very surprised that you would even, because most people aren't even asking those types of questions.
Well, we're more seasoned. More seasoned
so
women.
What you're telling me is within the first 6 months, you're asking about flexibility.
Well, what I'm saying is, once everything else is equal, what can make or break a relationship ends up being that once you get I guess if you are compatible, then once you get to that more serious stage, a lot of times those flexibility issues or seeing the division of labor or how you see relationships, I've seen in many relationships, that's what makes or breaks it. You know, he works too much. He doesn't allow me to work. He doesn't take care of the children enough. So that's why I went to that, because all things being equal, that ends up being a big problem.
Right. No, I get that. I get that.
But I guess maybe we have jumped the gun.
And to your question, because I'm thinking, okay, when we're asking what are the top things you're looking for in a man, the assumption is you're ultimately looking for the right person. And so typically, I just haven't had too many of those types of conversations, even though those are relevant in the first year, for instance, of a relationship that you're building. And given that we're not 18 or 19 anymore, I'm 25th, 26, I get that. You're typically not even getting those types of questions.
That's why, ladies, you correct me, but I think that women sometimes have an enormous ability to assume that something is there. And they want to believe that you have these qualities, so they give you a chance. And then, like Hope said, this may become a showstopper later on when I realize that you don't have this quality. So it's not that they're not looking for it, they just assume that you have it. Because to them, like they said, they would just assume that modern men would already just be modern like the way they are, because they think modern thinking involves this. But I think modern means different things to...
Right. And so my thought is getting beyond, okay, is he attractive? If he's someone that I can see myself going out with a couple of times. We're getting past the cursory stuff to, okay, we're trying to vet him to see if he's a keeper. So when we start talking about what I'm really looking for.
Well, this ends up being a deal breaker for me, or maybe a deal breaker to the man, because like you said, I'm involved in a lot of activities, and I happen not to be a stay-at-home type of person. I get my, I guess, thrill in life out of the arts and political activities and helping the community. So unfortunately, I'm attracted to, or homebodies are attracted to me. So it ends up being a total clash from the beginning. I mean, well, I need to know this because, I mean, there are a lot of men, especially in Dallas, that don't like to eat out. They have never tried Chinese food, which I can't believe. So they don't ever want to eat at a restaurant. They feel all restaurants are dirty. So if you know, that's something you need to know from the beginning. You know, so that is a deal breaker.
Okay, when you meet someone, let's say you just met someone, you don't know them very well. Do you know what you can look for in him to tell if he has that quality that you're talking about?
Well, just from conversation,
Or
it'll come up.
What specific?
The quality as far as modern thinking about roles and responsibility. Okay. How, even though you guys aren't serious, y'all just kind of just met each other, just sort of exchange numbers and talking a little bit. But is there anything that you think that you can think of that you would look for initially that would tell you, give you a clue as to whether he has it or not?
No, I mean, I just have to ask it because it's come up so many times. Okay. Now I ask about what you know, what your lifestyle is.
Oh, mine's like I get a guy a lot of times when we talk, even when you the drink that you order, me, I go, okay, we may or may not like each other based on even the type of like, oh, I'm just a beer man and I just like beer, or I only like sports, or it's just, if you're talking those things to me versus, you know, I like sports, but I also do other things, like I work out. Oh, I do also. So not just liking sports because you played football 20 years ago, you know, and now I have to hear about the sports side of it. As she said, when you're having a conversation, to me that kind of tells me a little about you.
It can.
And,
so,
you know, like what you do for a living, you know, oh, it may or may not, you know, I'm in the financial world. Maybe you are or you're not, so therefore that may kind of, we may have connection that way. Right. You know, I like real estate, you know, you're selling real estate, or you know, those type of things are going to tell me if we're going to be compatible on some of those levels.
Well, today's very fortunate that Tommy and I here, the most insightful black men on the internet.
Yes. Most insightful.
Most insightful, that is us. Men, that's right. So I'm going to give you a clue from just my history, and I'll tell you what I think you should look for. One of the things, whether he takes any kind of leadership in the interaction between you guys. So you mentioned Chinese food. If you mention that you like Chinese food, and then later on he calls you up and asks you out to dinner, and if that is not taking you to a Chinese restaurant, then that lets me know that he's not really being considerate of what you say you want. And then if you say, you know what, I really don't care, it doesn't matter to me, you pick a place. If he doesn't pick a place when you say that, if he comes back and says, no, what do you want to eat? He's basically shifting responsibility for the choice back to you, which lets me know that he's uncomfortable making leadership decisions. You don't want to be with a man who's uncomfortable making leadership decisions. And then the man who does make the leadership decision, you want to make sure that he's being considerate of you when he makes that decision. So there's nothing wrong with sharing the information. Hey, this is what I like to eat. These are the places I like to go. This is the kind of drink I like. And then give him the chance that when you go out and do these things, that I'm the kind of guy I like ordering for the person that I'm with. I like being the liaison with the wait staff, so she don't have to deal with that. But I also have to make sure to have the information and know that this is what she likes, this is the kind of drink that she wants, these are the things that's going to make her happy, because that's what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to impress the person that I'm with. If he's not doing those kind of things from the very beginning, don't give him any more. Give him one date and see how he performs.
I would agree with what he says about, I think he said all those things to say attentive, being attentive.
Yes, there you go.
And as much as I yak and talk and all these things, it always amazes me if I meet a guy and he will in turn, like one guy, we talked about a lot of different things, subjects, and I love history. And he actually brought this book on the date, and it was about presidents, you know, and it was about patriarchs, about different presidents.
That's something you said you enjoyed talking about?
I told him I loved it, but you know, again, I'm talking fast, and we talked about a lot of stuff, and it was just a small little thing. So,
but you paid attention though.
Yes,
and he factored it into you guys' date or get together. So,
Exactly.
okay, that's a keeper.
And then
You can get points for
that's
that.
nice.
On the second date, he brought me this huge, and I still have this book about different presidents, not
Okay.
just the modern presidents, but the patriarchs, you know,
Okay.
of like the Joe Kennedy and how Kennedy became president from having that.
How long was
top
this,
closet.
by the way?
Tommy, excuse me, as I was saying.
Okay, but let me ask you this,
That's the point.
Is
That's
this
the point I'm trying to
something-
make. That's
Okay,
the point I'm
As I
trying to
was saying, that it was very thoughtful and attentive, and as he was
Right.
saying, to be honest with you, I love it when, a lot of times, I will tell my date, when we're looking at a menu, and we'll look, I'll say, I'm a steak so-and-so. I let him in turn say, well, we'll have this, and the lady will have that.
Right.
But I do notice that a lot of times, people go, the waiter may come to me first, and then you, and sometimes I'll go, he knows. And I'm quiet, and because to me, I'm letting him assert, as he says, be a leader and be a man. And I think sometimes
Yeah, factually
females
true.
do
True.
not let men be men, even though that's one of our top themes is for men to be men. And
that's-
then we tend not to let them be
And that's a
men.
part of maturity, because
Yes.
probably in my 20s, I would have been uncomfortable with that.
Yes.
But now, I
With letting
like
him-
that, with letting him order, or,
Yeah.
yeah, I would have said, well, why can't I order?
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
so I would have had a problem with that, but now, it's not a big deal to me. And maybe, you know, I appreciate him ordering, I don't feel like ordering, so I
So,
just.
so Tom, that's something that's black men can buy into? Can we commit that if we meet someone, we're on a date with them, that we're going to try to be attentive, and try to be respectful, and try to factor in some of the things that we learned from the initial conversation, which means we have to start listening better and making mental notes, to show that we're going to be considerate of them when we plan the next activity. And actually plan something. Don't just say, let's get together next week, and then next week, what do you want to do? That's not planning anything. So what do you think? Can we commit to that? Is that too much to swallow at one time, or what?
I believe that it's something that's fair to commit to. My personal opinion, either you were raised in a certain way or you weren't. It's natural to you or it isn't. And I think a large part of that has to go with, one, what kind of family background did you have? Were your mother and father in the same household? In a lot of our households nowadays, it is not the case. So young boys growing up, I see them following women more than I do see them.
They do.
So for some, it's going to be a learned trait, and for some, it's going to be something that's natural. But I believe it's something that, you know, is very easy to do. But for some folks,
We're
it's gonna
assuming
require
that you
more.
don't have the skill now. So
Oh, if you don't have the
the
skill.
skill.
Well, yeah,
I'm saying
it's-
it's something that do you think it's something that collectively, black men could just buy
Anything
and
can be
learn?
learned.
Okay.
Anything can be learned.
Okay. So you heard it there from the two most insightful black men on the internet.
Men, insightful men,
What did I say?
black men.
Okay.
We just have to be black.
Yeah, we just have to be black. So fellas, we're going to ask, and you have the ladies here, you've heard what they said, we're asking men, period, to commit to being attentive, to being respectful,
Absolutely.
being considerate, and to exert some leadership. Now, if you're not comfortable doing this, especially when you're with someone, is it okay, ladies, if he let you know that, look, I'm trying this, I'm trying to this hasn't normally been my behavior, I'm new to this, so I may need you to cut me a little slack if I...
Continuous improvement,
There
that's
you
what
go.
life is about.
Let me add to this, because I thought you brought up a very good point in terms of responding to Shaw's question, just the whole vetting process in terms of looking for certain things in their behaviors. The other thing that I think, or one of the other things I would say that you need to consider early and up front, and I don't think it's an inappropriate conversation, is not just talking about, but looking at the relationship between that guy and his mom. And that's a real easy conversation, because most men, especially guys who've been raised well, have a decent relationship with their mom. Some of them may not have had a day in their life. But if you can observe how they relate to their mom, what their responsibilities were, because let me be quite frank with you, there are a lot of guys who are trading their moms for a wife or a girlfriend. And so when you start talking about, you know, what he's prepared to take responsibility for, when you start talking about the traditional guy versus, you know, more of a modern guy, you really have to look at the relationship with the mom in particular. Big one, if he had a dad in his life, far be it if he wasn't in that household, look at that relationship, and that's going to tell you a lot about his potential, because at a bare minimum, he's been in that environment, he's seen that environment, and that was the way that he was taught. If he is accustomed to his mom picking up after him all the time, if he's accustomed to his mom doing everything for him, you got to tell
You got a problem there, yes.
Yes, yes.
So that's another way early on to find out how much work you got.
And that's something we covered in some of our previous episodes about about young boys growing up around with mothers with no fathers, and how all they know is that a woman is supposed to take care of them because that's all they've seen all their life. Then they become young men or adults. They like Tommy said, they get rid of one woman who's taking care of them. They look for another woman to replace her who will do the same thing, take care of him. So in his mind, a woman is supposed to take care of me, because that's all he's seen all his life. But let's move on to another topic with a couple minutes we have left before we have to end this segment and maybe spill over to the next segment. Do you guys have time for a second segment, possible? Okay, let's throw out one more topic real quick, and okay, we'll go with you, Charlotte. You're in the hot seat this time. So what would be your? You're gonna give us the next topic, our next foundation thing.
Yeah. You said the first one obviously was flexibility. What is the next big thing?
Again, at the very beginning, and so we're talking about initially. At the very beginning, to be honest with you, the experience.
Experience. You said experience. Okay.
What does that mean?
She's an adrenaline
I
junkie.
think it's important.
She wants a guy who's exciting, who's doing things.
And I don't mean that, when I said earlier about being attentive, if you're attentive, then the experience can be easy for you, and people don't get that. If I tell you that I like, like I said, you said you like the arts. I told you I like to work out. I like to run. I told you that I like to do different things out of the box. So our first date, when you say we're going to go to the movies, and I'm older now, so I've been to movies.
Of you.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I've eaten quite a few places, so I have no problem with that. But if you tell me, Charlotte, you're all active or whatever, you're telling me you run all the time and you do these things, whatever, just put your tennis shoes on and be ready.
Okay.
And you tell me to trust you. It's first date, second date, or whatever.
Take you out to White Rock Lake and run around and
yeah. Well, one guy did
rock
that.
climbing.
I've had two great experiences, whatever, and I've had one good friend that tell me, salespeople, Charlotte, what we do is we create an experience. That's what makes people want to see Charlotte again. I never know what she's going to be doing, where we're going. It makes me feel good.
Okay.
Instead of I'm with Betty Sue, I know. We're going to movies. Yeah, I know. I'll be ready. So this gentleman, he in turn, I had my workout clothes on. We went rock climbing.
Okay. I was just guessing. Okay.
And it was great. We went to this somewhere in Plano, whatever. We did the rock climbing or whatever, and they had the meal, whatever. Then afterwards, we had drinks, and got something to eat. I was so hyped from the rock climbing, And the cool thing about it, he was scared of heights. But he still took me rock climbing. And I kept thinking, why aren't you doing this? And I'm up at the top.
He's doing it for you.
And that was brownie points, big brownie points, And he didn't tell me until afterwards.
Okay, now you gotta look at the camera and say that again now.
Brownie points. Those were major brownie points.
So he went outside of his way
outside. He's afraid of heights and he's rock climbing. Yeah.
So that's telling me I like this young lady. I'm paying attention to what she's saying, and I'll actually change just a bit to a certain extent. Now, he didn't, because he's afraid of heights, he went a little up, and I'm thinking, well, maybe he can't find out a rock or something. I don't know until afterwards that I was afraid of heights.
Wow.
So to me, that was brownie points.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha. What about you from
That's
experience?
interesting. I never have anybody that tries to impress me like that, so kudos to you.
Yeah,
Because
You said you normally attract guys with more home body.
Well,
guys.
No,
They-
the homebodies are attracted to
Yes,
something.
and I get the dinner and a movie.
Yes.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. Actually, I sometimes get, I don't go to the movies, I get bootleg. So, the frugal.
movie.
I'm saying they don't want to pay $8 to $10 for a movie. And see, that kind of goes back to what I said earlier, to be honest with you, is when I meet a man, before I'm going to even go, I just meet them foundationally. You have to have those things. See, like what you're saying, I don't even deal with. They wouldn't call me because our conversation is going to tell me, really, you're not financially stable. We probably not going to go out.
Okay, but that's a way of saying it. If you say I enjoy
I'm not
the
going to
movie,
say that.
see, I'll say I enjoy the movie, the big screen movie experience.
Yes,
Being
back
in
to
the
the
theater, the
experience.
sound, the big board. To say that's what I like. So not just I like movies. I can watch movies at home by
Yeah.
myself, but I like the experience. So that way he understands that. Yeah, don't come over with a $5 DVD.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't meet guys that are at the intellectual. I don't want to say intellectual level. I'm saying they're not my cohort level where they even see the difference between or the dining experience as opposed to eating. You know,
Okay,
so-
I mean, but think about it. If you're just like listening or whatever, I got went out of my comfort zone because one guy, he was like, I like to shoot, I like guns, I like whatever. Well, I have a 9mm and I hadn't shot,
Okay.
So he was in turn. We went on one date and we went to movie dinner. The next day, we met at the shooting range,
Okay.
and he was very good at it. And I have to admit, it scared me because he had quite a few guns.
So, ladies, I need you to hold that thought.
Yeah.
Because we're coming to the end of this episode. But we're going to carry over to one more episode, and we're going to give you guys a chance to finish talking. Tom, let's thank our sponsors real quick.
Well, of course, we'd like to thank Fitness 360 for hosting us today.
Yes. And MOTC Telecom for providing the equipment, and For Us Films, who does our editing and uploading to our YouTube channel.
And of course, our friends and sponsors and all of our viewers just like yourself.
Yes, and please subscribe. Click on the subscribe button if you go to our channel, and then invite others to come watch the show. We very much appreciate it. I think that's about it. And then don't forget to watch the second part of this. We're going to finish this discussion in part 2, so please come back.
All right, that's all, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.